So today, the House of Representatives held the first congressional hearing on UFOs in at least 50 years. During that hearing, Pentagon officials acknowledged that American aircraft, military aircraft, have nearly collided with UFOs on at least 11 separate occasions. So it's a national security problem, at the very least. The Director of Naval Intelligence, Scott Gray, also released never-before-seen footage of what appears to be UFOs was spotted by Navy personnel. Watch.
Let me share with you the first video that we have here today, which shows an observation in real time. There it was. That's, in many cases, that's all that a report may include. In this video, U.S. Navy personnel recorded what appears to be triangles, sun flashing, recorded several years ago, off the coast of the United States. This was recorded while the U.S. Navy ship observed a number of small unmanned aerial systems in the area.
So they're real. That's been determined beyond discussion at this point. There were topics the Pentagon was not interested in talking about. For example, are these objects a threat to the United States? The Pentagon, excuse me, would not say whether or not they changed their military capabilities in response to these encounters.
Have our encounters with UAPs altered the development of either our offensive or defensive capabilities, or even our sensor capabilities?
We'd say that for the closed session.
We should say, by the way, this hearing was pretty bipartisan. Probably the first thing we've seen the two parties cooperate on in a long time. Good for them. The Pentagon would not say whether these objects are a threat to us, but today they did concede that these cannot possibly be man-made objects. Watch.
Do we have an example? Can you cite a specific example of an object that can't be explained as having been human-made or natural?
The example that I would say that is still unresolved, that I think everyone understands quite well, is the 2004 incident from Nimitz.
So that incident from 2004, the head of Naval Intelligence referred to, is what is known as the Tic Tac UFO. Chad Underwood is the former Navy pilot who filmed that footage. He joins us tonight. Mr. Underwood, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
When you hear officials concede that these objects are not man-made, they're not Russian or Chinese, we don't know what they are, does that surprise you?
It doesn't really surprise me. It's more of when we capture these encounters, it's just really it's unidentified. It's flying and it's an object, and you're just kind of in the right place at the right time. In my case, it was off the coast of California, and so it was just kind of by chance. But I believe that these hearings are important for the public to understand, and I'm glad that they're happening, and so that they're not being classified and they're being unclassified, from the DOD and Congress. I think that's important for the people to know in this era.
So it seems like this is a headline. Maybe we're underplaying it. The U.S. government knows these objects are not foreign military aircraft, so that leaves how many options? Well, I don't know, just one, I guess. Do you think the U.S. military, its leadership, is worried about this? And how do you think they feel? Non-man-made objects flying in intentional ways, violating apparently the laws of physics. Like, what's their view of this?
Yeah, I really don't think that. Okay, by default, it's a national security risk.
Right.
That's just going to be truth. However, these objects have not been behaving in any way that's hostile,
Right.
Or anything like that. That's going to pose a direct threat to our cities, bases, and this is more of not just a national security risk. It's a global existential risk.
Yes. Or it's certainly, I don't even know if we know it's a risk. I know that we know that it resets our hierarchy a bit. Human beings are not the most advanced life form in the universe, and now we have video evidence proving that. Like, that's not a huge thing. It seems like one to me.
Yeah, and I think that in the last, my encounter was almost 18 years ago.
Yes.
And so that's when we started to develop really high-level sensors, both radar and FLIR, forward-looking infrared, that we could track, or, capture and track these objects. And it's happened on the West Coast, it's happened on the East Coast, and I don't know if there's, other nations that have captured these objects as well. And so it's very interesting, but I'm glad it's being acknowledged by
Yes.
the Pentagon and Congress. It's very important.
Well, I agree. And, a lot of pilots have not come forward, as you have, to say what they saw. And I don't know if you've been attacked or derided as crazy or whatever, but I hope anyone who said that to you has apologized, because you've been vindicated. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
You're welcome.
Chad Underwood, thank you.
You're welcome.
We spoke to Chad Underwood at length for our documentary, The UFO Files. You can find it now on Fox Nation.